Today in the shop, we finished up the carb leak problem that we had. Put the bike back together. A couple of little details we hadn't done the day before because we just ran out of time. And they're important details too, things I don't want to admit. And we got the bike all put back together. And needless to say, got a little test run in the garage, a little test run out in the driveway, made me very happy. And at the end of this session, the big thing, the absolute big thing, and the bike's been running over half an hour now, not one drop of a leak. So I'm very happy. Now yesterday, we just ran out of time, and it was so cold at the end of the day. Oh my God. Actually, it's in the low 20s now. It's bitter out here. But I did have, and the reason yesterday, I didn't want to rush putting this together. Because when you rush it, you chip the paint, and I had a couple of details. I have to put the overflow tubes on, I have to grease the linkage. And I made myself a little list last night of things I want to do, but I want to put the whole bike together. And now, hopefully, when the snow melts, which may be July, who knows. Hopefully then we will be able to get a test ride. But in the meantime, every day we got Luciano's Evil Twin project coming soon. We got a couple other little interesting things to do here in the shop. And today's goal is get the bike put back together in one piece. And I'll be very happy. This actually is the 5th day of working on these carburetors. And it is very hard to explain to somebody the satisfaction you get. I'm sure people that work on their own bikes all know. You struggle, you're tenacious, you try everything, you try things you didn't think were going to work, they don't work. You try something else, you talk to your friends, they give you some things to try, but in the end, when it gets to where you hear that bike running like a MotoGP bike, what a feeling. Now, today while I'm out here, Karen has got our Christmas cookie production underway. So she's busy, and I'm sure I'm going to take my time, because this, again, I always say, this is one of the bikes that I have really enjoyed many, many years. And when Luciano and I found it, Luciano actually found it, it was a day just like today. And I'm sure he will never forget it. I will never forget it. We brought it back to his garage. We hooked up the battery. It started right up, because when you buy these inexpensive bikes, you never know. And then the next morning, he had a puddle of gas under the bike. Well, here it is 10 years, 8 years later, and we're still dealing with a fuel leak. But hopefully we've got it solved now. Let's hope it's another one of our lucky days. Day 5. And I hope we'll get it all back together by the end of the day. Oh, but at least we're up out of the teens. Boy, has it been cold the last couple days. Working on an FCR and assembling it today, this isn't going to make it any easier. And of course, Karen and I want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and all the good things for the upcoming year. Okay, when it's snowing out, we give you a little bit extra seeds, of course. Never get sick. Look at the one in a little cage there. Never get sick of eating Wendy's seeds. Yes, it is very cold out there. Even Santa Claus is cold. Even a snowman is cold. No, it wasn't that long ago we were feeding the fish, and they're hibernating now. They will be fed in about 3 months. But we still got a ton of snow in the yard. And the problem is, there's ice everywhere too. But we're not losing a riding day, that's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. Now we'll go see what Karen's up to. So you might be wondering why Wendy has a little bit of a weight issue over the holiday season, the Christmas season. Now these are all the cookies that Karen has baked in the last, how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I collect motorcycles, she collects cookies. How many cookies do we have here?
Quite a few.
And I've had samples of every one. Maybe I'll have, no, I better not. I gotta work today. So tell me what these all are. This is haystacks.
Haystacks.
Which ones are these?
These are pumpkin butterscotch.
And what's this?
Chocolate crinkles.
These are the ones I like.
Peanut butter blossoms.
Oh, and I remember these. These are the, oh my God, the sandwiches. What else you making?
I forgot what these are called.
I don't care. I'll eat them either way. And this is the ones, the red velvet ones that Miles likes.
He likes
And
that.
M&M cookies.
M&M chocolate chip.
And what's in here?
Those are lemon Krispies.
Oh my God.
Those are macaroons.
I may have a heart attack over the holidays. That is some nice haul. It's a nice collection.
These are chocolate lace cookies.
Chocolate lace cookies. Anyway, that's Karen's hobby for the holiday. My hobby is get out to the garage and get that bike put together. All right, so Karen's having a good time. I'm having a good time. The final putting this back together, there are 2 vent tubes, and these are vents. And all these do is vent. Now, this is a really critical thing. Critical to me anyway. What happens is, if you forget to hook these tubes up or you choose not to, this now, if it overflows, if a float bowl sticks, and this, you have extra fuel in the carburetor, is overflowing, it drips down onto a very hot engine, which may drip down onto a very hot exhaust. So the idea is, I have always, when I put these tubes on, and I'm going to put new tubing today, I route it to the side of the bike that does not have a muffler. So if it were to drip, especially if the bike is on its side, I don't want it dripping onto a hot muffler. And that's something a lot of people just ignore. They say, yeah, let it drip on the engine. Well, on a summer day when it's really hot, that can really be a safety issue. So that's the first thing I'm going to take care of. I got to get my box of tubing out and see if I have some new tubing for that. Well, I did buy quite a bit of new fuel tubing recently, and I have some, and I'm not sure if I get them. See, a lot of this stuff I have to, this is another roll here. It's so hard out here in this below freezing temperature. You can't even squeeze that. So what I did, I brought out the heat gun just in case, and it's probably going to be necessary to get when you're joining a plastic joint to a tube and you force it on and it's like a rock, a lot of times you crack the plastic. And this is why I save all the old tubing, because you never know when you're going to need a piece. Now the tubing that was on there was like a rock, and I just threw it away. When it gets to be a rock, you're pretty much done. And I do have, I know somewhere in here, I had a whole roll. Here's a nice soft piece here. That, anyway, I'm not sure I have exactly what I need, but I know I have it somewhere in my inventory. Now we don't need our auxiliary gas can anymore, so that's one thing we can get out of the way, just to make working on this a little bit easier. And this has served its purpose well. That auxiliary gas can is such a handy thing. Now the only thing that would make it handier, and I used to have one, I used to have a petcock, an on-off thing from a lawnmower, but I don't have it. I don't know what, I probably used it on something. But that is a very handy tool. And speaking of handy tools, I know Joe has this, but I bet Joe in Myrtle Beach, he doesn't use this for his auxiliary gas can. Actually, this is set so you can pick the whole motorcycle up by that. That is the best $70 tool from Harbor Freight that I've ever gotten. So what I have to do is, using a heat gun, I've got to make my own connectors here because I don't have exactly what I need. This will work though. Once you soften this tubing up, it'll go over one size bigger, sometimes 2 sizes bigger. And you can use it basically like heat shrink tubing. Now even though if it's cold, you're not going to ever get this over there. It's not, you'll break the plastic. Once you warm it up like this and it becomes so, oh, it's nice. That's nice. So now that it's warm, you can see it goes right up over that. If it was cold, there's no way that, and it's a nice tight fit. And my other tube is a real tight fit inside. So once I trim that off, and then I can hook up my overflow vents. And that's a really good safety thing to have, boy. I just can't, I don't like the idea of that fuel dripping down onto the motor. And that's a really good tip when you want to get shrink tubing. Oh, I call it shrink. This is not shrink tubing, but now look how nice and soft it is. This was like a rock. Now as soon as it cools off, it'll go back to being a rock, but now it's already over and it's made a good seal. That's a good tip, by the way. Both of these tubes thread very conveniently, and I want them to go down at, there's actually a hole in the fairing where they exit, and I want them to be as far from the hot exhaust pipe as I can, Check this out, how nice this fits in. It just couldn't be nicer. That's a perfect fit. Oh, that worked out great. Now these have a real specific routing, and I want to maintain it. And I want to get that to come up there the way that should. And we just get a zip tie on it, and we'll be good to go here. Perfect. It's a little detail thing, but it's the kind of little things I don't want that gas if there's a problem. And we know from time to time, more than once, these carburetors have had a problem. So let it leak out onto the ground, plus it'll tell me right away that I have a problem with the carburetor. So this is a good, nice little safety thing. Yeah, that worked out perfect. So they run right down, right where the manual calls for it, and it comes out right in the hole for the fairing, and that is on exactly the opposite side of where the hot exhaust is. So that it kind of all makes sense, probably a good safety thing. Glad I didn't leave that step out. Next little thing is really important to me, and I'll explain why in 1 second. I'm putting 1 drop of WD-40, not a lot. Down in there. There's springs between these carburetors, and what happens is when they dry out, the throttle gets a little harder than it has to be. Now, one of the things I love about this bike, I absolutely love, is that those springs are not real stiff like they are on some bikes, that they give you a sore wrist. So I'm always careful, put a little bit on the cables. A little detail like that can change how much you enjoy the bike. I hate a bike that, and I've seen the things Jose and other people have, these cruise control things. I just like having a lighter spring, one that just doesn't tax your arm. And that's a small detail. By the way, the MT-09 has exactly that spring. It's just perfect. It isn't, oh my God, at the end of the day you want to die. Okay, the next step is just carefully mount the air filter. All right, as I'm tightening up the air filter, I got to remember, and I almost forgot more than once, to hook up the line that goes from the fuel tank to the fuel pump, because we had that line taken off for the fake gas tank. So if you forget that, as soon as you hit the starter button, the fuel's going to be pouring out of it. No, maybe not. I don't know. I don't need to know. See, all I need to know is hook up the fuel line. I guess I'm wrong. Nothing bad would happen. Since there's no fuel in there. But if we hook that line up and don't hook it up here, there's going to be fuel everywhere. Yeah, I'm right. Sometimes I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Usually I'm wrong. But anyway, we do have it hooked up now. And so that now our quick disconnect, of course, is going to go to the tank. Sometime on these little simple things, you leave out one step and it ruins your whole day. Now, luckily, when we did this, we didn't have 25 gallons of gas in the tank. Just get this in here. Get my metal pin for the front. That pin in, and the cotter pin pulls it in. And with that, we should be able to disconnect our quick disconnect fuel line, and then line up the tank. Wow. I'm so glad this is working out, Mr. FCR. So after what amounts to be, this is the 5th day of working on this. It is a good feeling to be buttoning it up and get into that nice warm house. And Karen's cookies. Now before I put the seat on, I've got to hook up the overflow. And that may need a little heat. Oh yeah, it does. But that plastic stuff, oh, it turns into a rock. Amazing, this tubing. As soon as it's a little bit warm, whoa. I always am amazed about that. Right on. That's a really good trick. All right, we got all that on, and this just gets snapped in. And we always put a zip tie around that, just for safety's sake. You know, this is from being paranoid about being at track day and having a seat come loose when you're working on a bike and you're not really totally focused like you are when you're in a garage. That one zip tie, I'll put one on the other side too. And that really makes it solid now. Now that little latch that pops up can't come off. It's like safety wire. And that always had my concern, is that's because we don't have the stock safety catch on here with the key and everything. We just have that little flipper, and that when you have one of those on both sides, you sleep better at night. We're only a few bolts away from being able to test run it. And there is definitely a special reward for dropping tools. Wow, when it's cold, you just don't know. If you're working in a warm weather climate, you don't, believe me, you're not missing a thing. Anyway, we are almost ready to test run it. And look at this, I can't even hold the tools, it's so cold. Whew. Now, this has been actually 5 days of being out here freezing. See, your hands get so cold you can't hold the parts. And boy, is it good to know we're almost there. And by the way, if you have any interest in aviation stuff, there's a wonderful movie out on YouTube for free. It's called Frozen in Time. Daryl Greenemeyer trying to rescue a B-29, the Keybird, which is a classic movie. And whenever I'm out here in the garage freezing, and boy, I just think of old Daryl and his crew in Newfoundland. Frozen in Time. If you like a great adventure movie, that's it. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. While I'm out here, I'm frozen in time right now. And sometimes if you're working in a really cold garage like I am almost constantly, you really start to appreciate some of the things when people have done military operations, rescue operations, and I can't even think of what. When you have to work under some extreme cold conditions, and I watched a movie on YouTube too, not only Frozen in Time, they were working on B-36s in Alaska and having to change the spark plugs on all 6 engines after every flight, because it was so cold. They were flying the planes with the choke on to keep the mixture rich. Anyway, interesting. When you think you're cold, there's always somebody in the world that's a lot colder. And I was really cold making this video. Well, all that's left here is to log everything into the logbook. Keep this up to date. We're going to be coming up on an oil change and a maintenance cycle soon, but getting this carburetor leak resolved. Wow. Now, another thing I have to do, I have to get a hold of Vlad, because I have this tape, this vinyl stuff that Midgley gave me on the tank. The reason for that was we were having the magnets eat into the paint. But now I want to upgrade this, of course, to the system that we're using on all the other bikes, the Jivy system, and I'm sure that's going to work great. That's one of the upgrades to do on this very soon. We want to get these all done over the winter while it's too cold to really enjoy a ride. And this was quite an adventure. 5 days. 5 days. But boy, at the end of it, I hope it doesn't leak again. That's what I'm hoping. So before I end the video, I want to thank the healthcare workers, of course. Thank you guys so much. Wow, we are truly lucky to have you. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. It's been a cold 5 days here in Green Bay. Holy man. I feel like I'm an Eskimo. Anyway, I'm getting in my kayak and I'm going to go have a cup of coffee and I'm going to go see what Karen's doing up there. She's baking cookies while I'm out here freezing. So thanks so much for watching. So while I'm outside working on the FZR, our cookie selection. How many of these did you make? Wow.
I think 7.
7, wow. And needless to say,
There's one extra per mile, the big one.
oh, the big one, okay. Needless to say, Merry Christmas to your family from us. Anytime I end a project like this, and this project I originally thought if the weather were warm it'd be a 1 or a 2 day project at worst. In this cold weather when tools are jumping out of your hands and the coffee's freezing, well, sometimes you just got to tough it out. It's like the people in that movie Frozen in Time, and that is a spectacular movie. Well worth watching for anybody that has an interest in aviation. Well, maybe even if you don't, if it's just you're interested in mechanical things, but it's an amazing, amazing story. Well, I'm not so sure. Being out in this garage for 5 days, I'm looking forward to a couple of days of indoor work. We're looking forward to helping Luciano out with his H1 Evil Twin project, and looking forward to eating a lot of those cookies. And thank you, Karen, for making all those cookies. That is absolutely going to kill me over. You're going to read about me exploding. I don't know. Anyway, I really hope you did enjoy the video. I try to share whatever I possibly can, maybe with all things except electric, and maybe even a little bit of electric. I don't know. But anyway, we do enjoy editing the video. We do enjoy sharing them with our friends, and hopefully you'll enjoy watching them, and hopefully someday you'll be working on something and say, yeah, I saw that on a Windy video. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a Merry Christmas.